Gottlieb in 10 minutes. Gottlieb, by the way, he doesn't like Jim Mora, and I didn't think Jim Mora ripped him, but I think Jim Mora was authentic and honest and didn't say anything that was new information. By the way, I'm having dinner tonight with an NFL general manager. I'm not going to name drop. I'm just going to position drop. I am having dinner with a GM.
Where are you going?
I'm not going to say that either, but I will tell you this. It's a no. I will tell you that this guy has an opinion on Rosen, knows the Social Security number, knows where his birthmark is. The point is, everybody knows everything on Josh Rosen already. There's no secrets about him. He's been a very public kid. But Gottlieb didn't like Mora not laying down for Rosen and just saying he's the greatest kid ever.
If I'm Josh Rosen, I want my former head coach going, I don't care if it's in Cleveland or it's on Jupiter.
So you're bothered by it.
Oh, you should be bothered by it.
Why?
I was your quarterback. I got hurt for you. I went to war for you. Okay? Not only is he saying draft Sam Darnold played for USC. You were the UCLA head coach. You got like $15 million to not coach UCLA. Are you kidding me? You have to be willing to lay down on tracks for your quarterback. And the fact that he's not tells you everything you need to know about Josh Rosen.
Good stuff. 10 minutes. Gottlieb's here. I like coaches being honest. They usually carry around cliche books. When you get a rare, honest one, and it's not like he said Rosen was awful. He said, I think he'd be a better fit here than Darnold would be there. By the way, he's doing him a favor. He's saying Cleveland wouldn't be a perfect fit. Okay, let me shift to this. Do you hate the New England Patriots? This could be a very interesting story. If you're an NFL fan and you're tired of me talking about it, and you're tired of them being the dynasty, I mean, they've been to 8 Super Bowls, won 5, could have won 8. I mean, they're in every game to the end. Albert Breer comes out and has mentioned that the Patriots will get trade calls for Rob Gronkowski. Now, let me just tell you, there's 3 teams out there that have a chance to be good next year with great quarterbacks who could get the ball to Gronk. Seattle, Saints, and San Francisco could use a tight end, and I think at least a couple of those would call New England. Now, my first takeaway is I think New England, which has mastered giving away guys or trading guys a year early than a year late, has messed this up. Gronk's trade value was much greater a year ago or 2 years ago. And it was established a year ago to 2 years ago that he didn't help them win and lose games, that he wasn't making them a more profound offense. Look at the numbers. It's true. They score the same with him as without him. They average the same yards with him as without him. 2 years ago, they should have moved him. Now he's distracted. He's got about a year or 2 left. And frankly, he's not reliable physically anymore. He's missed 6 playoff games in a Super Bowl. But Albert Breer is saying what is now being published. Gronk's not happy. He's friends with Brady, but otherwise would leave the organization, and that teams will call. And I believe San Francisco, New Orleans, and Seattle could all use a tight end and will all call because they've all got legitimate superstar quarterbacks, big-time franchise guys who could use Gronk effectively. Okay, but here, there are 2 major things here to think about. Number 1, we now know that Brady and Belichick have at least a semi-fractured relationship. Does this rip the Band-Aid off? That Brady wakes up and reads the Boston Globe or watches a network, Gronk traded. Does that take that sore covered with a Band-Aid and rip the Band-Aid off between Belichick and Brady? I think it could. Here's the other thing. If Brady went to Kraft and said, you can't do this, because this is Brady's guy. If Belichick was denied the ability to trade Gronk, remember, they already told him he couldn't trade Garoppolo. If there was any pushback by Brady or Kraft that you can't let go of Gronk, I think Belichick snaps. I think he snaps. If you don't like New England, if you're not into the dynasty, if you'd wish they'd go away, we are at a really interesting time. Because Brady and Belichick, there are issues. Now we get a story from Albert Breer, who's dependable. They will take calls, and teams, 2 of them, Breer says, are going to call. Here you go. This is how dynasties end. And if they trade Gronk, how does Brady react? I think poorly. He's always been a rah-rah pro-system guy. We finally saw him support Malcolm Butler after the Super Bowl. By Brady standards, that was courageous. That was a stand. He's an apolitical guy. That was a stand. This, I think, would only deepen the fracture between Brady and Belichick. And if Gronk isn't allowed to be traded, Belichick may just snap. Because the Garoppolo thing, I still think has resonance. I still think Belichick's bothered by that. Christine Ledoux.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, you just talked about Jim Mora. You didn't think it was any bit of a shot at Josh Rosen when he was explaining millennials and that they always have to ask why and explain things.
If Josh Rosen needs to be coddled, don't draft him.
Hold on. Asking why is asking to be coddled?
I don't think you go and act bothered by a comment from a coach. That looks to me needy and insecure.
No, okay, but for Jim Mora, and I like Jim Mora, and I'm not sure if it was a shot, but it kind of sounded like one. If he's criticizing Josh Rosen for being the kind of guy that has to ask why and have things explained, I don't see a problem with that.
I think Twitter reveals a lot.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the first part of it, not the action afterwards. I'm talking about why is Jim Mora saying that there's something wrong with Josh Rosen needing to ask why?
I think he's just reacting because he got a lot of pushback on media yesterday. Mora got ripped by a lot of people, so he reacts.
Before that, not now. Like, why does Jim Mora have a problem with Josh Rosen in general while he was coaching him?
Because
being
he
the kind
is
of guy that needs an explanation.
Because he's kind of difficult.
Okay, well, I would argue that millennials, right? Because he is referring to millennials needing to have things explained and asking why.
Right.
I don't see a problem with that at all. Yes, I am a millennial, but I ask why all the time, and it's not because I'm difficult. Doug's agreeing with me. Not because I'm being difficult, but or questioning you, just because I'm genuinely curious and I want to understand to the fullest amount that I can.
That's why I didn't think what Morris said was that big of a deal. I
but
didn't.
It wasn't. I don't think it was meant as a compliment.
Well, it may not have been meant as a compliment, but I don't think a coach should have to come out and say just all these bon mots and all these, if somebody called me and said, "Oh, Christine, she's the best, the smartest," I would say she works her butt off, she's good, good teammate, blah 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 blah. But if somebody asked me a question, I'd say, "Well, she could work on this." I don't think it's a criticism. I think I'm being honest. If somebody asked you about me, you'd be like, "He works hard, blah blah," but sometimes he can be difficult. That's not a criticism. That's honest. I'm not bothered by that.
I agree. If you were to say to somebody, if they were asking for a criticism on me, and you said, well, she asks why a lot, I would hope that person's reaction was, well, good, because she's in the media business. She should ask why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything he said, nothing Mora has said has bothered me whatsoever. Honestly, he didn't lay down on the tracks, but it's like, I actually think I am so tired of college coaches say, God, every guy that leaves Kentucky, Calipari's like, oh, my God, he's the best kid. He's unbelievable.
I get it. You should have criticism, and he's completely entitled to it, and maybe he's accurate. I'm just saying, as a millennial, I am completely okay with the question why, because I ask it a million times a day, and I'm not questioning your authority, because I know a lot of non-millennials think that that's what we're doing, and it's not. We just are genuinely very curious. But Josh Rosen reacted to all of this on Twitter, and I think it's kind of funny. He tweeted why with the little emoji and hashtag why, and he also tweeted opinions, hashtag things people take too seriously. So I think he's referring...
That I agree with.
That people are taking this
Yeah,
too
people
seriously?
people are reading way too much into the Mora stuff, and I get it because Rosen's a quarterback and he's great, and the draft is wildly popular. It's now like on 17 networks. So I understand. He's a quarterback and he's going to go to a big city, and I get it. This story is really a 2018 story. Where 15 years ago, would this have been as big a deal? But I think social media creates this tyranny of the mob and pile on, and oh my God, can you believe it? And I'm like, it doesn't bother me at all.
See, I think it is a bigger deal, not because of the tweet, but because there are so many people who are annoyed with millennials and their questions, and that can be seen as difficult.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But it's not. Like, why are people so upset with millennials wanting to learn and being curious?
Well, as long as it doesn't make you impossible to coach, I agree.
Okay. Am I impossible to coach?
No, but I think some millennials think they have all the answers and they're 24.
You think well, I'm not 24.
You're not 24. You're like 30.
Oh, you guys. I can't wait for you to come on, Doug. I'm 31. Kyle Shanahan is talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and that they knew after only 3 games that he was their guy. And this is quite a long soundbite, so just bear with it because he says some pretty interesting things here.
It took about 3 weeks. He had to go out there and play. And I thought we were in a good situation after our first year in terms of record-wise. We weren't in a great situation, but I thought we were in a good situation to find a very good quarterback. Jimmy kind of fell into our laps for a second-round pick, and I knew how talented he was from college. Spent a lot of time on him. We loved his 2 games we evaluated. So once we knew we could get him for a second-round pick, that's something that we would not have hesitated on. We knew a guy possibly like Kirk Cousins was going to become available most likely in free agency. We also didn't have 1 win, so we thought we might have the first pick in the draft, and a bunch of good quarterbacks are coming out. So we knew we were in a good situation, and we weren't just going to jump in, hey, we got Jim, he's played in 2 games, let's sign him long-term and just bypass maybe the first pick in the draft or someone like Kirk in free agency. So we just played it out and see what would happen. And Jimmy went out there and played very well. In the first game, I was extremely excited. The second game, I was even more excited. By the third game, I think, we all kind of forgot about free agency and about the draft, and we're like, all right, we can isolate on one guy right now, and we were very happy that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't see how talented he is, you don't get football. This has never been a toughie.
Right, but that just makes me think if they knew in 3 games, this sounds like maybe even 1, the Patriots had to know what they had.
Oh, God, yes, they knew, which is why I still can't. The team that just befuddles me, and I think they have a bunch of smart guys, I don't get Arizona. I don't understand. Arizona's the only NFC team that had, for like 2 years, 3, it's not like Carson Palmer fell off a cliff. Like Carson Palmer, you've seen it happen gradually. It's like, we got to get a quarterback. We got to get a quarterback. Oh, my God, he just retired. We got to get a quarterback. Garoppolo was sitting out there, and I just don't get it. And then you got Goff in your division, and Garoppolo in your division, and Russell Wilson in your division. You got Aaron Rodgers. You got Carson Wentz. You start looking around the NFC, it's like you got Drew Brees, who, by the way, still got 2 or 3 years left. Garoppolo, listen, I don't even do this for a living. Garoppolo was out there. I watched him play 15 times in preseason, regular season. It's like, yes, he's obviously going to be a great player. Like, don't get me wrong, I thought Mark Sanchez would be better eventually over time, and it didn't work out. But I mean, a lot of these guys are obvious busts, or obviously really. Andrew Luck was obviously really talented. Like, I don't understand Garoppolo. Like, the people now in the NFL are like, well, I mean, he caught everybody by surprise. Are you watching the games? It's not hard. It's not that hard with Garoppolo. Garoppolo was not a hard one to figure out. Derek Carr, by like the second year, you're like, hey, he's doing some special stuff.
Right.
He's pretty good. It's pretty obvious he can play.
Yep. And finally, your favorite clip was this, besides from Rob Gronkowski and his clip, I think this Dario Saric clip might be your favorite of the year so far, where he's saying that he does not want
That's my favorite.
Right. He doesn't want to play LeBron. He's very honest about it. So let me just refresh your memory and we'll play that clip fast.
Are you intimidated by anybody?
No, I don't want to play against LeBron. He's obviously, in the top 3 players in the world, in the history maybe, and I don't want to judge him. Everybody else, are welcome to come here.
It's so good. I appreciate the honesty. I don't want to play LeBron.
I love that guy.
There's a new one.
Oh, there is?
Yes. I thought of you immediately
Who
when
is
I
it?
saw this. Wizards guard Tomas Satoransky was asked the same question, like, is there anybody that you don't want to play? And he also is very honest.
You mentioned Cleveland may not be the best path a second ago. Is the obvious LeBron, or is there just something?
I don't know. I don't know how the teams look at it, but I look at it from my personal perspective as as because of LeBron. Obviously, he always step up his level in the playoffs, and it's very challenging to play him first round. And he hasn't lost the playoff game for 8 years. I know. It's a stat. Stats are meant to be broken, but I would probably be pleased with a different matchup for us.
I would be pleased with a different matchup for us. But by the way, he said that LeBron hasn't lost a playoff game in 8 years, which is highly untrue.
Right.
But I get what he's
Listen,
saying.
the European guys don't feel pressure from the American media to be macho and say, I want LeBron. European guys are like, he's great, I'd rather not play him. It's so great.
Thank you. It's very funny. I like it.
All right, Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
Let's bring in
News.
Doug Gottlieb. Of course, we bring in Doug Gottlieb today, our college basketball analyst, a great player, a great analyst, Fox Sports Radio, right after our show. All right.
I do not want to play LeBron.
No,
thank you very much.
That is so funny.
It was amazing.
It is amazing. It's great. Let's just start with Villanova. Wrap a bow around it, Doug. What does it mean for the sport? First of all, we both like Jay Wright.
Yes.
He's a good dude. My takeaway at the top was, 4 years ago I was told in college basketball, experience doesn't matter. It matters, and it mattered for Carolina, and it matters for Villanova, and the last 6 finalists haven't had world-class NBA guys. They've had a bunch of 23-year-old, 22-year-old dudes that are coachable and that work hard and that love college basketball. And that it feels like experience matters again.
I think culture matters as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that had to come together in order for this team to be as good. You asked my takeaway. The first thing is, it's a tournament to which it gives us a lot of random results.
It does.
Michigan won the Big Ten tournament, and I know they were on fire, but they probably should have lost to Houston in the second round. Right? They were dead to rights beaten.
Loyola was beaten several times.
Okay, so we have random results. All that said, this was the best team in the sport when healthy. The best team won a tournament that usually gives us random results and sometimes a random champion.
Yeah.
That was not the case. The best team from the start, the best team at the finish. And I think it's about culture. It's about age. There's coaches in college basketball that say, get old, stay old, right? You want to have older teams, 21 and up, which is what they have. But that's more difficult than you think. But I think they won because of their culture. I think they won because of their defense, changing with the defensive rules. If you watch them play, they don't get called for fouls very often, but they are very physical from the waist and below. Same thing that Michigan is. You have to have hybrid players. This is something that the Boston Celtics made an adjustment with, and we talked about in the offseason. Getting big guys that can play on the outside, but guard and rebound on the inside as well. They have that. And then evolving and embracing the three-point shot, I think, is a big part of it.
Yeah.
But look, a lot of luck had to come together. They got Jalen Brunson. There was some luck to that because he was probably going to Temple with his dad as assistant coach.
Right.
Dante DiVincenzo has 30 off the bench. He breaks his foot his freshman year. Otherwise, he probably plays, might be unhappy, might have left and transferred, right? Eric Pascal transfers in because there's a coaching change at Fordham. You have Amari Spellman, doesn't play last year, changes his body because he's academically ineligible. So a lot of things had to come together, but the big part was this was the best team. They played like the best team, and like you said, they were punched in the mouth. They were a little bit tight. Michigan was ready to play. They took that punch, and they counterpunched, and Michigan had no answers.
Yeah, it was. I'm just very, very happy for him. Philadelphia, this is the championship I'm very, very happy for. Okay, so the Jim Mora thing, in fact, we've already played your bite. You're unhappy with it. What about my argument that maybe Jim Mora is saying he goes to Denver, he goes to Buffalo, he goes to these 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You make your money in this league in your second and third contract. Telling Cleveland not to draft him is the greatest favor anybody's ever done to Josh Rosen.
I don't read it that way. I read it as Jim Mora trying to get and stay in the media.
You think so?
I mean, look, he coached in Atlanta. That didn't work. He got another head coaching job with the Seahawks. That didn't work. He got a job at UCLA, and that didn't work. I think he's a good coach, and I think he's also good on TV. He has comes from a football family. But I think you ask why he's being honest, because that's the difference between a guy that wants to be in the media or a guy who wants to get back into coaching. Right? If you want to get back into coaching and somebody says, what do you think about Josh Rosen? He's great. He is Jesus reincarnate as a player. Okay? But instead, you ask somebody who's honest and analytical, and they use words like millennial. Millennial is a lot like the word mediocre, right?
What?
If I say mediocre, Christine, if I say the word mediocre, you know what, honey, your dinner was mediocre tonight. What would your reaction be? Is that a positive term or a negative term?
I see what you're saying.
Negative.
It's a negative thing.
Right. What does
Millennials
mediocre
use
mean?
Negative.
Average.
Average. Okay, it means right there in the middle. But we take it as a negative term. And older people, decision makers, you hear the word millennial and they think, guy taking selfies, guy that knows everything. Millennials know everything.
Yeah,
they might ask a question, but they think they already know the answer.
Really good point.
Wait, what side are you on this, Doug? You agree with that?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, when I was 26, whatever I was Gen X, Y, whatever I was, I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
And then I figured I didn't know anything.
So then it has nothing to do with millennials.
I'm still learning things.
But millennial, remember, you have to be honest about it.
Okay.
52-year-old men are doing all the decision making in the NFL. Millennial's a bad word.
It is.
It is a negative.
I'm just telling you,
It shouldn't be.
But it
I
is.
didn't say it's supposed to be.
It is.
Mediocre is not a bad word by definition. But when I say, hey man, Gottlieb, your segment was mediocre. Like, damn, why? What'd I do wrong? Like, nothing. It was average. You're always really good. That was right along par. That was average. But anyone takes mediocre as average. You tell a 50-year-old, 55-year-old scout or front office or an owner of a team, hey, that kid, it's kind of a millennial.
It
know?
is a negative.
He always wants to know why.
Oh, yeah, no question.
But here's another one.
I know, I agree with you. It's a negative, and I don't think it should be.
He's got a lot of other interests. Whoa.
Now that
Whoa.
one. Now
you know
that
what
one.
it is? It's because non-millennials look at millennials, and I honestly think that they are jealous of the lives that we live or the way that we think. It's like we're not gonna go climb a corporate ladder or do the same thing every day.
No, you guys live in youth hostels. We live in mansions.
We think a little more open-mindedly.
Well, listen.
It's true.
I'm a very open-minded 42-year-old.
Who doesn't like millennials?
No, I understand because I was once 26 years old when I got in this business and thought I knew everything about anything. And then I was like, damn, I don't know anything. Right? I just didn't. I didn't understand. We all think the same way at a younger age, and we kind of evolve.
Okay, stay there. Coming back, more Doug Gottlieb. Got to take a break. This is The Herd in Los Angeles.